Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome to the trial recap. And I should have Kresha Easton on here any minute now. She is going to be joining me from her home studio. We have not yet had a chance to talk about the trial at all. And I thought it would be good for us to get on here and discuss what's happened so far and talk about some of her feelings. As some of you may know, Kresha Easton is Kay and Larry Woodcock's daughter. She is the niece of Charles Vallow, and she has her own channel called Difficult Research. And you can imagine a family member who loved her Uncle Charles, and when Charles married Lori, it was a surprise to Kresha, I think, to find out that Lori was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Kresha did not grow up Mormon. And so when all of this started unfolding, when Charles was killed and references started to be made to Mormon doctrine, Nephi and Laban, Kresha started doing her own research and digging into the LDS Church. And she has done more research on this case than almost anybody that I've met. She's done more research than I have even. And Kay and Kresha together have learned a lot about the LDS Church since this case started back in 2019. Since then, Kresha has done a really good job doing deep dives on other aspects of Mormonism. Specifically, lately, she's been doing a lot of research into some of the sexual abuse cases that the church is going through and into a lot of what Tim Ballard has done and Ruby Franke, Jody Hildebrand, and how all of these things are connected by the book Visions of Glory. So she has done a lot of work and research into Mormonism and exposing the secrets and everything that goes with it. On a personal note, I just want to let everybody know that my second grandbaby was born this morning. It was not expected for that to happen today. I think they probably miscalculated my daughter's due date a little bit, and she went into labor around 7:30 this morning, and the baby was born at 10:30. So it was a short and peaceful labor and birth. She is doing wonderfully, and my little grandbaby is doing amazingly well. I got to FaceTime with them this morning. I decided not to drop everything and go there because I would have to come right back again because my third daughter is getting married a week from Sunday. So I decided to wait. My original plan was to go at the beginning of May and spend a week. And I think that's what I'm going to do, just because it'll be more peaceful if I can go and just spend some time and help her. The trial will be over by then. And therefore, I will be able to just focus on my daughter and my new grandbaby. And yes, my grandmother name is Mimi, because when I was younger and my siblings were younger, they couldn't pronounce my name. And so they called me Mimi. And so I always liked that nickname. And that is going to be that is my grandma nickname. That's what my grandson now calls me. So my grandson actually turns 5 on Thursday. So it's going to be wonderful to be able to celebrate my 2 grandsons' birthdays right around the same time. So this last year, my daughter and I celebrated our birthdays are a week apart, and she turned 30 and I turned 50. And so we celebrated our birthdays together. And that's when she let me know that she was expecting a new baby. And looks like they did not do a good job calculating her due date. She wasn't due until the 29th. But when the baby was born this morning, 7 pounds, 5 ounces, I believe, and lots of dark hair. So obviously they thought maybe she was more like 40 weeks along rather than, 28 or 29 weeks. So anyway, yes, Mimi is a great grandmother name. Unfortunately, it is also Janice Cox's grandmother name. But I'm taking it back. I'm stealing it. So, hey, Irish Jen, good to see you. Glad you're here. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for the congratulations. I'm super, super excited. I got to, as I said, FaceTime with them earlier, And he is just adorable and lovely. And I just wish I could squeeze him and hold him right now, but I can't get out there. And it's okay. I mean, it's a long drive. It's a couple days. I've done it before. But even if I jumped on a plane and flew there right now, I would have to turn right around and be back here by Thursday when everybody starts coming in for the wedding. So anyway, I'm so grateful that you're here this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome. And I'm glad to have so many people here coming to support Kresha or listen to Kresha's story and what she's experienced in the trial so far. She's not in the studio yet, but in addition, I also invited Joe Schmo to come and join us today. Joe Schmo has his own channel. You can find it at Joe Schmo 88. He is an excellent researcher and investigator. He has also been in the courtroom every single day of this trial, and he has gotten his hands on the latest motions that were filed. Now, we've already talked a little bit about the motions as things have gone on, but we haven't actually seen them. And there's some stuff in there that I really want to dig into. And so he's going to be here at some point as well. I also want to talk about the jury instructions because I think the jury instructions are really important. This is what the judge is going to tell the jury before they go into deliberations. And the reason they're important is because the judge has to outline the law for the jury. And it's really interesting in this case that there are so many different aspects that are going to come into it. So what's going to end up happening is that on Monday at 10 o'clock or 10:30, I think. Sorry, I'm just texting with Joe Schmo here. Just making sure that he got the studio. Okay. Yes, happy Easter weekend to those of you who are celebrating. We have talked about Monday at 10 o'clock, the jury's going to come in. Actually, I think the jury comes in at 10:30. Court starts at 10. And what is expected to happen is that Lori is going to rest her case. She preliminarily told the judge that she planned to rest, but Trina K asked that she rest in front of the jury. And I think that's important too. So Monday morning, once the jury is in, she is expected to rest. And now she could change her mind. What's interesting is that she said she was going to rest. And then the judge said, "Are you sure? Because if you rest, you can't change your mind between now and Monday." And when she was asked to rest in front of the jury, she said, "Well, let me wait until Monday," because they were going to wait till Monday to do closing statements anyway. So once the jury gets in there, she can rest. And then they will give jury instructions at that time. And then they'll have lunch break. And then closing statements. So I believe Trina K gets to go first. And then Lori will do her closing statement. And then I believe Trina K gets to do a rebuttal to the closing statement if she wants to. So that's what's probably going to happen on Monday. Now, we all know, we've seen so far, Lori does her shenanigans. So who knows what she has planned for that morning. Maybe she'll surprise us all and decide that she wants to testify. I doubt it, but we'll see if that's going to happen. So Kresha is here. I'm going to add her. And when Joe gets here, we will add him as well. Hey, Kresha.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? How are you doing?
Like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. Like, I've been reeling for sure. Like, I will go one day, it'll be okay. I'm good for a day. The next day, I'm waxed. Like, I'm out. And then I can go at it again. So it's interesting that it's only like been a week. And so just when you're getting your pattern down, it's going to change some more. So how are you doing? Okay. I've been worried about you.
I'm doing okay. I do have to say, by the time Thursday morning came around, I was ready to get the hell out of Phoenix. I just have to say, I mean, I had it. I was done. I was not prepared for how draining it was going to be. And I'll tell you, getting up in the morning and getting myself ready for court and getting my live streams ready and sort of like reviewing my notes from the previous day to remind myself where we were, and then sitting in court all morning and then going right to a live stream, choking down some chicken nuggets, calling my partner, calling my kids, running back into court, and
Processing.
then, listening to court all afternoon, and then going basically straight to either a live followed by an interview or vice versa, and then just collapsing. I mean, doing that for, the first week was only 2 days because it was jury selection. The second week was 4 days. The third week was 4 days. Well, 3 days really. And then I went home. I mean, it was definitely exhausting mentally to do that anyway.
Mhm.
But to have also family crap in there as well. Justin Lum's in the house. Thank you
What's
so
up,
much for joining
Sam?
us, Justin.
What's
Justin gave
up?
me my very first interview in Phoenix all those years ago. And I'm so grateful to him for helping me tell the real
Yeah, I was
story
like, "Who's
of
this
the
girl?
real
Who's
Lori.
this girl talking all this stuff? Who is
Yeah,
she?"
tell us how you. I'm going to bring Joe Schmo in here real quick, and then tell us how you felt about seeing this. Hey, Joe, thanks for joining us. Seeing this family member that you had never seen before,
Whoa.
talking about your family and your case. I'm going to go back this way. I like that way better.
It was okay, so it was Lori's trial. First off, Justin, we'll interview you. How about that?
Right. On how this has
So, if
impacted
you
Justin's
dare,
life.
come on, Well, so we were at Lori's trial. I didn't know you. I didn't see you there,
Yeah, we've
and I
never
mean,
met.
I couldn't handle the courtroom. It was so intense. I'm a very emotional person. I'm very empathetic as well. And so it's so heavy in there. I talk too much with my face. I mean, it's so bad. And I'm just like, I'm going to give it away. I'm going to be the one that gets, admonished. I'm going to be the one that gets in trouble. So my mom sends me a link to Justin Lum's interview with you. And she was like, she's saying all the same things you're saying. And I'm like, who is she? Who is this? And so I'm like checking it out, and I'm like, wow. You say it so much more eloquently though, I feel like you're the translator for me. Like it's a translation. I'm going through a translation process too. So, I mean, just to understand all this stuff as a non-Mormon, as a Nevermo, and you've been in it your entire life. I didn't know all that. I didn't know who you were. I never met you before, never heard your name. But it was so relieving to have somebody basically validating things that I had been trying to say, just didn't know how to say, or I didn't know how to talk about them. So it was a relief, and you have been nothing but a wave of relief, in my opinion, with the family dynamics and all that jazz. It's very hairy. So you've helped me understand the dynamics of the Cox crime family, in my opinion. I said it.
Well, I'm
So thank you.
glad it's been helpful for you, and it's been really helpful for me to have you to sort of unpack with, as, a different side of the family, coming to the Coxes, not growing up with them, to hear someone else from outside of the family give the perspective that you do is really important to me too, because it makes me feel less crazy.
You're not crazy. It's they're crazy, and they can have
Yeah.
it. We're just trying to figure it out. We're doing the best we can with what we have to work with, and
Yeah.
I mean, look at what we're working with.
We're working with, I've referred to it several times as just like this bag of cats that's in Lori's head. Nobody can really make sense of it, but we're doing the best we can to try and pry the cats apart and talk to each of them and be like, what's going on?
They're angry, very angry cats.
Yeah.
Joe, is your cat angry? I'm just
So I
put
brought
you on
Joe
the spot.
Schmo on because I was saying at the beginning of the video, Joe Schmo is an excellent researcher and investigator, and he's got the documents from the motions that were filed sort of at the last minute through as the case has been going on. Lori's been filing all of these motions, and Trina K has been filing responses, and there have been failed subpoena deliveries and all of that. So those documents, Joe Schmo has those documents. And that's what I wanted to kind of talk about today. First, before we do that, from each of you, I'd like to know from you first, Kresha, and then from you, Joe, what have been the moments that have stood out the most to you in trial so far?
I don't really know. There's so many.
I'll tell you mine and maybe it'll jog your
Okay,
brain.
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
there's a lot, so help me sum
Yeah.
them down.
So for me, the two and I had a different motivation probably than anybody else coming here. Justice for Charles, of course, is the number one reason that we're all here, and that's what we all care about more than anything else. For me also, though, I really wanted to have evidence of how involved my other family members were in Charles's death, and I felt like I got those answers. So for me, Alex's testimony on last Thursday, day 4 of the trial, was really, really important. And then to hear all of the text messages and emails and iMessages that went back and forth, that was really important to me because it confirmed for me that Janice and Summer and Melanice were all heavily involved at this point. They were all Team Lori, and they, in my opinion, allegedly are complicit. I believe that they should be charged with accessory, but I'm not a prosecutor, so that's not my job. But in my unprofessional opinion, that's what I believe.
I have an answer for that. I have a solution, shall I say.
Okay.
I've been working on, and I mean, I hate to say it publicly, but I mean, it's kind of what I'm working on, whatever. I doubt people, at the 7 Gatherers and all the people, I doubt they watch this. So they pretty much steer clear from me for sure. But I have found another way that we can hold these people accountable, and it's hitting them in the pocket. It's also my thing in this is I made a promise to my Uncle Charles when he first, died. I'll just say died. That I would not stop until everyone with my family's blood on their hands is held accountable. Then I waited for the court, the law to do that. And I've been waiting. I've been disappointed. My expectations were way up here and they just needed to be really low. And I mean, I'm glad that Lori and Chad are not able to hurt anybody else. However, there are so many more doing this very same thing. We've seen it play out in other court hearings and court, just horrible cases. Okay. Having to do with Mormonism and to do with this clique, this exact like-minded belief that is festered. Okay. It is widespread and it's scary. So there's a way that we can hold them accountable. Mine's for the exposure. I don't care about anything. I don't think anybody else cares about. It's not about money. It's not about that. It's about hitting them where it hurts. I followed the prophets. I followed the money, not the profit with a P, but with the F. And it's crazy how many of these people and organizations and nonprofit organizations and all these people in and around Lori and Chad's circle enabled them to do the worst possible. And so whenever there was somebody who filed a suit against Connections, Jody Hildebrandt, Pam Botcher, Ruby Frankie, and this other person, I never can say her name right. But when I read that, it just was like, I was like, oh my God, it's like, it just came together for me. And I was like, this is it. This is their names need to be on that. And then I was like, better yet, I'll just make my own. And then, it's called RICO, and it's crazy. But it's the only thing that I found that holds the whole enterprise accountable. and it does exposure too. And they don't like
Yeah.
that. They don't like
Yeah.
doing bad publicity.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. So
mm,
how about you, Joe? And I misspoke earlier. I think I said Alex's testimony. I meant Adam's testimony. It's hard for me sometimes, Adam and
I
Alex,
do.
I get 'em mixed up. But go ahead, Joe.
You say that though, but the court minute entry also says Alex. When
Does
Adam
it really?
testified, the
Really?
minute entry says Alex Cox testifies.
I
And
Yikes.
I'm
would
like,
like to
I
see
hope they
that.
correct it.
I posted it on Twitter and I've got it. I could show you, but it's like so bizarre that the court reporter got that wrong, that she
Wow.
put Alex instead of Adam.
It's confusing.
Yeah, it is a little confusing. I mean, you wouldn't think it's not like they have the same name or even similar names, but it just starts with the same letter. And
Yeah.
so anyway, I
Anyway,
want to stop. I want to find a way to stop saying their names. I really
yeah.
want to refer to
Hmm.
Lori as her prisoner number from now on. And I want to
153745.
Oh my
Remember?
gosh, write it down. 153745.
153745 is one of them.
100
I don't know what her other one is.
100%. I don't care. I'm gonna start referring to her as her prisoner number. And then Alex, I don't know if I wanna just I don't know. I gotta come up with some way to
Just
refer
we
to
can do
him.
initials even, A, whatever. I'm down with that
Yeah,
too.
I wanna come up with something that aptly describes who he
Lamar.
is. Lamar. Yes.
It's
Alexander
his
Lamar
name.
Cox. His
Mhm.
middle name is Lamar. That is right.
Mhm.
That's a good one. I'm gonna start calling him Lamar.
And
I
Noreen,
don't
we can
know.
do all
I'm
their
gonna
middle
try. I'm
names.
gonna try it on. I'm gonna try it on and see how I feel about it. So Joe Schmo, so far you've been in court every single day. What has been the thing that has stood out to you the most? Or you can say more than one if you want to. Just what's been
Yeah,
had the biggest impact?
right. So there are two separate things that stood out to me, and one of them is by insertion, and one of them is by absence. So obviously, Nancy Joe's "Don't flatter yourself" was like a huge moment.
That's my
Yeah.
Aunt
By the
Nancy,
way,
y'all. I
hi
claimed her.
Kresha.
I'm claiming her. I'm
By the way,
claiming her. Hey. Hey. I was
and
like, "Oh,
then Kresha, your mom, say
mm,
when she asked her usual question, "Did you see with your eyes? Did you hear with your ears? Did you witness me
mhm."
conspiring?" And she said, "No, but I sure saw a ton of evidence."
Yeah.
That was another one.
She
But
dropped it.
yes, she did. Yes, she did. She's amazing.
I was
She
proud of
was
her.
amazing. Yeah. In court. She was ready for it this time.
Yeah. Hey,
But
Irish Jen, if you could drop Joe's channel in the comments, I'd appreciate it. This is Joe Schmo. He's been in the court every single day for trial. He's got an excellent channel and he is an excellent researcher. And I've had him on before to talk about Lori's motions because he does a great job of combing through all of this stuff. And he's got the documents, y'all. So we're going to be going over those here in just a minute.
Mm.
So yeah, Nancy Joe's testimony was big for me. I loved Kay. She got in some zingers that I absolutely loved. Anything else, Joe? You said something that stood out by its absence.
yes. So she said, I'm not going to mention her name. She said in her opening statement, the evidence will show, the evidence will show, the evidence will show. She said something like, the evidence will show that there was, that there was some kind of a physical confrontation at that house, which she never did present any evidence to show. But she is currently now the only person alive that was at the house that day.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we didn't see is we didn't get to see testimony from JJ or Tylee or Charles or Lamar. We didn't get to see any of that. That
Yeah.
stands out to me. Like
Yeah.
I think she wanted to get Tylee's interview in there from the Family Advocacy Center. And she actually did it, even though she wasn't allowed to do it in court. She mentioned it.
But it was
But we
stricken
didn't.
from the record. And I'm really glad the
Yes.
judge did that. And he instructed the jury to disregard it.
But can the jury really disregard it? I mean, the bell has been rung. They've heard it.
Yes, but now they also have to be wondering to themselves, why was that stricken from the record? And why isn't Tylee here? If they haven't wondered it before, they must be wondering now that we had, what was it that Lori said, the statement that she made where she said something like Tylee said she hit me with the bat or something like that. I can't remember the exact wording of it, but immediately Trina K jumped on that objection. It was stricken from the record. The jury's, ordered to disregard it. But if I'm a juror in that courtroom, I'm already wondering where Tylee is. I'm already wondering why people are referring to her and JJ in the past tense. I'm already wondering why Kay said the last time she saw JJ was May 18th. And now we have a statement from Tylee that is stricken from the record. So as a jury, I'm going, what's going on? I really got to know.
Yeah. Yep. And the jury has been paying attention for the most part. I mean, they're kind of stone-faced, like it's hard to see any reaction from them ever during this trial. But there are moments like when they were going through the castings and the evil and the dark and all of that stuff, they were a little bit on the edge of their seats. And then during the autopsy photos, they were a little more on the edge of their seats. But for the most part, they've just been sitting back in their seats and just taking notes. Well, some of them taking notes, some of them not, but they've been paying attention, I think.
What about the last day, like the text message day, when Detective Duncan. Yeah. Did you notice anything in them then?
I did not. I did not see them like sitting up and paying any more or any less attention during that. I did not.
I will tell you what I saw from the jury on the last day and what I heard from the gallery is when just before Trina K rested, the last two things that came in were the text from Chad to Lori, where Chad says, it'll be interesting to know if he changed the policy before he had 2 bullets in his chest. And there was an audible gasp from the gallery behind me. I could hear people gasp when that one came in.
Appropriate, because it takes the breath out of you. It really does.
It's absolutely shocking and horrible. The first time that I saw it, I was blown away. And I didn't notice a reaction from the jury at that time, but I will tell you that the entire last day, the woman who is on the front row of the jury was watching Kay very closely throughout the entire day. And Kay was obviously emotional, but also at times infuriated and also at times laughing at Lori. And, but that juror in the front row was paying attention to Kay. So I hope that means she has a little bit of understanding about what's going on here, sort of the context between the lines. Were you going to add something to that, Joe?
Yeah, I had a reaction from the gallery when that part was read out loud. I wonder if it was changed after he had 2 bullets in his chest, because her response was, well, you can't change a life insurance beneficiary after the date of death. Like, he's such an idiot. No kidding,
Brainiac.
He's such a moron. I mean,
yeah. I think, I could sort of hear the conspiratorial wheels turning in Chad's mind, where he's thinking to himself, well, maybe Kay went in there and called afterwards and, changed the beneficiary after he died.
That's just about the computers. And I'm like, for what? What's in the computers? What?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Clear that Lori and Chad, they've demonstrated their stunning lack of knowledge about life insurance policies. And Lori on the last day, luminol Lori, that's right, does not understand the difference between blood and DNA, and doesn't know what luminol is for, apparently, and doesn't know that when a person is deceased, they don't get transported by an ambulance.
That was shocking to me. That just that line of questioning she did right there, where she kept saying, I'm sorry, I'm confused, I'm sorry. I was like, what is she doing? Is she like resetting or something? It was really weird. Really weird.
Yeah. And I showed Janelle Murphy's comment earlier. She was also in the courtroom for several days, and she is from Idaho. I met her at the kids' memorial, and she is close to this case. She was formerly married to someone who was close to Chad Daybell. And so this is her backyard where all of this was happening. So Elaine C. I see here in the chat, and it took me aback for a second because my mom's name is Elaine C. And I don't think she's ever watched any of my videos. It's probably a good thing.
Welcome, Mom. You know that this is Lori's favorite cousin. I'm her favorite niece. And Joe is Lori's favorite boots on the ground. Okay.
That's right. That's right. That's right. All right. Well, so should we get to some? I'm so sorry, Janelle. I totally thought you were from Idaho, but you're from Utah. I apologize. So should we get to some of these motions that were filed last week? Because I think it'll be really interesting for people to see the failed subpoena services and also some of the some of the wording in the motions. That's what I always like to see, is what is Lori arguing? What is she highlighting? What is she putting all caps? Those are kind of the things that I'm interested in.
I have a question for you before we get going, and it's about that. Do you guys think that she was really sorry about sending those subpoenas, or do you think that was lip service?
That absolutely that was not an accident. That was definitely not an accident.
Well, who chose the names, Lori? You
chose the names. She said she was just signing a stack of subpoenas and she wasn't paying attention. First of all, that's not a thing. That's not a thing you should be doing as an attorney, just signing stuff and not paying attention to what it says.
They shouldn't have been on there ever.
Yeah, well, I think she absolutely did it on purpose. It was not a mistake. The first time that it happened, I sort of wanted to believe that maybe, okay, there was a clerical error, the communication at the jail. She always likes to talk about how she's in this jail, prison, incarcerated situation, and she's upset about it.
Like Nephi.
So, yeah, but then the second time,
23 hours a day.
Right, but when the second time when it was Larry Woodcock, I was like, that was not an accident. There is absolutely no way that was an accident. And also, I'm going to say, too, I don't believe that she's on lockdown 23 hours a day. I don't believe that. I'm just going to put that out there. Well, she might be in a pod with other people. No, that's the thing. I don't.
How is she helping them if they're on death row? What is she trying to do? 8 years, they're already convicted on death row. You know what I'm saying? The math doesn't math up. She's lying.
Yeah, I think that, first of all, there's a difference between jail and prison. Jail is where she is right now. She's being held in jail while she's attending trial. In prison, she's in prison in Idaho because she's already been convicted there. So if she's talking about inmates in prison, that's a maybe, but she would not be in the same population with death row inmates. She's not on death row. She's in there for life. It's completely different.
Right.
So I don't believe her on that. And I will also say, when she said, or when her mom said that she was attending the temple every single day, little bell rang in my head. And I was like, I seem to remember Janice making an Instagram post about this. And I went back and I looked, and I have the screenshot. I'm not gonna put it, I'm not gonna share my screen, but I'll show you my phone. It's a post from 2017, and I put this on my Patreon, and it's a picture of Janice and Lori.
I know. I have the picture. I don't have the post. Huh.
And the post says, Thursday is Temple Day with Lori. Of course, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday are all temple days for Lori. And then she proceeds to use hashtags wrong. She says,
follow those hashtags.
She says hashtag love that. And then she puts temple going girl with no spaces and then puts a hashtag after it. And then she does hashtag what? A bright light hashtag. So she doesn't understand how to use hashtags, which, given her age, I don't really blame her for that, right? But so Janice is saying she's at the temple with Lori on a Thursday. And then she says, of course, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday are all temple days for Lori. So that means maybe she was going
closed on Sundays, right?
Maybe she was going 4 days a week. It is closed on Sundays.
2017?
Yeah, 2017.
That's a long time. But that's alarming, right? Nobody goes to the temple that often.
Yeah,
and so why would mom not raise a flag?
Well, because to Mormons, you have to understand, without any other context for it, it is, for Mormons, it's a flex to say that you're going to the temple that often. You know,
I'm
to
more
say I'm
Mormon
going to
than
the
you are.
temple 4
Yeah.
days a week. That means the temple is the most important thing to me. And, you know, if you don't have a job and your kids are in school, people
Mhm.
would see that as, you know, as a flex. And as far as somebody said in the comments, why charge people to see it? I do have some free stuff on my Patreon. I have a free chat
Mhm.
there, and I have a free trial chat there. The reason I would put something like this behind the paid
Yes.
memberships is because it's someone else's private Facebook post or private Instagram post, and so I don't want to just
It's
put that out
family.
there.
That's why. I mean,
Yeah.
because you have to have some things back there anyway, so it's what
Yeah.
it's about. So that's
Yeah.
how this works.
So anyway, yeah, let's get to looking at some motions.
Yeah. Let's get with emotions.
Joe Schmo, are you able to share your screen, or do I need to share them on mine?
I can on mine.
Okay.
I've got to pull up the folder.
There's a lot of them.
Holy cow! Yeah,
Must be
my
her and her
folder.
team.
Oh my gosh, my folder has so many files in it, but we can sort by date.
Okay. And so, but I'm sorry, I'm going to talk while you get that ready. But
Yeah,
like what Michelle said right here, I mean, to that, I have to tell you how disturbed I was to hear Summer and Janice in the text shared in court, considering kids were unalived after Charles. They have to realize how wrong their part was. And I am going to stand on this till the day I die, unless something just slaps me in the face with pure evidence. Okay. I want 100% receipts. And I don't think I'm going to get that. But I believe that for sure, in my opinion, I feel Summer was A-okay with Charles being gone. She even
Yeah.
sent a text saying, "Do you want me to shoot him myself?" She
Yes.
texted Alex and she said she was leaving the airport going to New York the day that Charles, my uncle, was killed. And she said, "Anything yet?" You know, something like that.
Yeah. So yes, a flex is a brag. So that's in the FOIA documents, right, Kresha?
Mhm.
I can't tell you.
And it was
I've
in
had your.
sorry.
No, you're fine.
And it was also in the what we heard there's when was the last day of Tuesday,
Thursday.
right? Tuesday.
Thursday was the last day of trial? Or yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Wednesday was the day the texts came in.
Okay, so that day. The last day the day the prosecution rested is the day. And I mean, for sure it's there. It may be in the FOIA, because there were some that were and were not, I mean, I was trying to process it all and I was like, what? I was watching a chat and I was like, what's going on? What am I missing? And so it was too much.
Yeah, so for sure, I can tell you that text from Summer was not in the evidence in court on Wednesday, because I was watching very closely. I was taking notes. And I think the reason they wouldn't have wanted to bring that text in is because you don't really, as a prosecutor, want to bring in any evidence that suggests that someone else was more involved
It
than the
was.
person you're trying to prosecute. I don't remember seeing that at all. Where,
Because
where,
I
where
even did a
she's the one where
breakdown.
she says, I'll kill him myself.
Oh, no. That one was not in there.
Okay.
No, but the
Okay,
one
where she
like,
says anything yet, where she's
anything yet.
checking
Yeah.
in. Yeah. She had her finger on that pulse. So I think the
Oh, yeah.
FOIA documents,
We
are
need to
where
fill
we'll
that
see that
in
one.
is
Yes,
what
we
we need
do.
to do.
Let's do that episode, Kresha, because I
Yeah.
do. I wanna go through all the texts and fill them
I'm
all in.
serious. We ain't
Yeah.
even playing. We were for real. And I know
Yeah.
you've been waiting on this because, I mean, we all have, but you really needed to see this for yourself without just being told the family story
Right.
or the narrative that they want to give you. That's how I felt about Mormonism in this. I was like,
Mhm.
hey, people are telling me all kinds of things, but I'm glad I didn't believe it. It's not that I didn't believe them. I'm glad I found out for myself because nobody can just tell me. I'm like,
Yeah.
you
So
know?
I also wanna know, I wanna know exactly how the intervention story got told, because
Mm-hmm.
Right. I was just going to ask that same question because Elaine just had that comment. Wasn't it Summer
Yeah.
that told Lori? But Adam said he didn't tell anybody.
Okay, so
Right. So
Adam told Alex that he was coming into town, though, because he asked Alex if he could stay with him.
Well, but
And
Janice picked him up, and so she knew he
Right.
was in town. She picked him up.
Right.
It's like,
Janice knew that Adam was coming into town because she picked him up at the airport. So
Mhm.
maybe Adam told Janice, hey, Alex isn't answering. Can you come and pick me up? I'm supposed to stay with him. Somehow Adam was going to stay at Janice's place since Alex didn't pick him up. And so I'm thinking that Adam probably told Janice, and Janice, knowing that Charles and Adam were coming into town on the same day, they probably
How'd they
said,
know,
hey,
though,
something
Megan?
is going on.
How'd
Yeah.
she know that they were coming into town?
I
It
think
was
That's
Lori.
specific. They knew specifically about an intervention.
Mhm.
Okay,
So
Lolo
it's
knew about specifically because Janice said, do you want me to say something preemptive to him on the trip back
Mhm.
from the airport? And then
Right.
Summer said, no, just get whatever information you can get from him.
So it's like, I always thought that maybe Lori and Chad were somehow spying via iCloud, or, because of the computer thing and all that jazz. And it
Yeah.
kind of seemed to hint that way a little bit in the FOIA docs, but I'd have to walk it back down just to be for
Right.
sure.
So just hear me out for a second, because I kind
Okay.
of know how the family dynamic goes. Lori would have told Summer and Janice that Charles was coming into town.
Mhm.
That would have been something they would have known, right? And
Melanie
then
too.
and Melanie too, right? They all knew Charles was coming into town because
Mhm.
Lori probably complained to them. She was quote unquote worried. Now let's rewind just a little bit, because Lori referenced in court a video that Janice and Summer saw that she wanted to bring into evidence. And what I gathered from the discussion that was had between Trina K and Lori and the judge is that Lori's comment was, without that video, there would have been no bat, there would have been no gun. Now, in her opening statement, Lori referenced several fights that Charles and Tylee had, and she listed the dates of those fights. And I think this video was of a fight between Charles and Tylee. So I think Lori showed this video to Janice and Summer, and I think that Lori told them she was afraid for her safety and that she needed help protecting her from Charles. So they knew Charles was coming in. Then Adam calls Alex the day before and says, I'm coming into town tomorrow to visit with Zach, his son, who is staying there. And can I stay with you? Alex says, sure, you can stay with me. No problem. Alex hangs up the phone and calls Lori. Did you know Adam was coming into town? Lori and Alex probably talking back and forth about, okay, Charles and Adam coming into town the same day.
That's
They've got
conspiring.
to be doing something. So I'm sure that then Lori called Janice and Summer and said, hey, these guys are both coming into town on the same day. I'm sure they're going to try some kind of intervention. I think Lori's the one who came up with that term. And that's how I think Summer and Janice found out about it. And I think that's why they called it an intervention. So that's just my theory. Of course, we're never going to know the truth about that. But I just think that given the family dynamic, the way that Lori worked is that she would tell everybody in the family whatever story she wanted them to know. Yeah. And then she would say, don't talk to Charles because he's doing X, Y, and Z. He's having an affair. He's blah, blah, blah. Lori would have said blah, 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 whatever.
Blah, blah, blah. Whatever she does.
So I think that's how it went down.
I think that's a really good. And I would be right there with you if it weren't for this whole week and her representing herself. I feel totally different about Lori. It's been 6 years, and this is the first time I'm just like, oh my God, I can't stand her. I even said the H word. I hate and I can't believe that I've not hated her this whole time, I'm just like, whatever. But she has gotten on my last freaking nerve and just has enraged me all over again. I didn't even think I could be anymore, And I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't last long, but I mean, I'm just like, mm-mm. So in the way that I feel about the Cox crime family now, if you can tell how I'm calling them a crime family now,
Just the
for
mafia.
sure.
It's just the
Yes, it's
mafia.
very mob-like. It's trashy, first off.
Yeah.
Okay, it's trashy.
Yeah.
It's unfair and it's so wrong. It's illegal. It's morally wrong. You are not worshiping Jesus. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
with
so let's
that,
get to the documents.
okay. I'm like, I'm going.
We've
But
we've
I
been
think
talking
that
for 45
they're
minutes
all on
here.
board. I think they were all on board. I do.
I agree with
I do.
you. I agree with you. Yeah.
All
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we have
Uh,
here, Joe? This is a motion in limine about questioning police. We heard about this in court where Lori wanted to exclude, or no, sorry, Trina K wanted to preclude Lori from questioning the police officer about certain
Right.
things, right?
Right, because we knew that Lori had I said her name. She had
It's okay.
subpoenaed several police officers through her
Right.
subpoenas. I actually didn't find those subpoenas except for Detective Inklin. She's the
Okay.
only one that I think that I saw actually subpoenaed. But
Well, I think the detective subpoenas or the officer subpoenas, I hope, would be sealed because they are officers and their addresses don't need to be out there in the public.
right, and it was the Chandler PD station was the address for Detective Inklin, so that one wasn't sealed.
Okay, good. All right, so let's go through this real quick here.
This one's really brief. The state of Arizona through Trina K says they want to preclude Lori from questioning any law enforcement officers about why they did not arrest Alex or Lori on July 11th, 2019, and why the police did not submit the case to the Maricopa County. I assume that's the prosecutor's office.
Yeah, attorney's
CAO.
office, Maricopa
Yep.
County Attorney's Office. Yeah.
Gotcha. The Rule 401 says evidence is relevant if it has a tendency to make a fact more or less probable than it would be without evidence, and the fact is of consequence. Testimony as to why the defendant and or Alex Cox were not arrested on July 11th and or why the police waited to submit charges is not relevant under Rule 401, as it will not make it more or less likely that the defendant is guilty. True story. True story.
Yeah.
Of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and will not make it more or less likely that the co-conspirator Alex Cox acted in self-defense. True. When the defendant and co-conspirator were arrested or charged is not a fact of consequence in determining the action. Right. The jury is told to review all of the evidence submitted to them during the trial and base their decision of guilty or not guilty from that evidence. The timing of arresting, this is big, probably the most important part of this motion. The timing of arresting and submitting charges is not relevant as to whether or not the defendant is guilty or not guilty. If the defendant wishes to question any officer regarding why they didn't arrest her or her co-conspirator, maybe that's what we should call him, co-conspirator. After the shooting, he's more than a co-conspirator, though.
Yeah.
Some
people have referred to him as the family hitman.
Yeah. Yep.
But really, he was incompetent because he didn't do a very good job. Unless he had help.
All three of them just like.
I know. Sorry, Jermaine. Yes, I'm like on the toilet. You know. Thank you, Vinny. Justin takes a note.
But so did Elvis. So did Elvis, and I have fonder memories of Elvis.
Yeah, but Lamar it's even better.
Right.
It's
Lamar. Lamar's a good one.
Yep, that is a good one.
Thank you. Sorry. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So yeah, this makes a lot of sense to me, and it's good to know, what was behind this, and So let's just talk for a second about why it would be problematic for the prosecution if Lori wanted to bring up, why didn't they arrest us that day? Or why did they wait so long to press charges?
So that could be a good thing and a bad thing for the prosecution, because it could sow doubt in the jury's mind. Like, why did it take so long? Like in the Delphi case, why did it take 5.5 years to arrest Richard Allen in the Delphi case? You know what? But on the other hand, it also opens up the door, which Lori does not want opened up, that talks about the fact that she had to go through some mental health stuff and through an entire trial for 3 murders in Idaho before this.
Sounds like a personal problem.
It is.
Did
It
I say
is.
that
She
out
was a
loud?
little busy.
I mean,
Yes, she was a little busy.
translated beings, I always thought that they were not busy. They could handle all things, all times.
Well, they're super busy in prison. So let's move on to the next thing that you have there, Joe.
Sure. Boop, 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 bloop, bloop, bloop. This is even shorter. This is only like a page. This is the third motion to preclude the defendant's witnesses. These are for Baeza.
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 Baeza. I'm sorry, Baeza.
Baeza.
Mm-hmm. I don't ask me how
Gabriel
to say her last
Bonilla,
name.
Ashlyn Rind, Barry Cox, and Zachary Cox. So 4 of those, except for Zachary Cox, to date, the state has been unable to interview. So Miss Lawyer Lori can't even follow the proper rules of procedure and the rules of evidence in getting witnesses in and subpoenaing them in time for the state to interview them. So she didn't, the state hasn't been able to interview those 4. The state has interviewed Zachary Cox. We heard on that one day from Jeff White, her investigator, that he did interview Zachary also, and Zachary supposedly had some contradictory testimony to what his dad, Adam Cox, said, but she didn't bring Zachary in either. Yeah.
Jason, my fiance, brought an amazing theory up last night. He's really good at looking at the grand scheme, and he's usually like 4 or 5 steps ahead. Okay. So he was saying, we were wondering if he thought that Lori was going to testify. And he said, no, she's not finished. It's like she's going to have to go through Brandon's trial. And then once she gets through Brandon's trial, that, and I can't ever say it the way he said it, but she's going to, if she does do her last hurrah, that is when it's going to be. It's going to be, she's got to get there though. She's still got to face Brandon. He was precluded, so she was not able to face him. She still has to face and confront him. And that's what she said in her interview with Arizona Family, that she wanted to face everyone, confront them, everyone that lied about her and everything. It was not about justice. It was not about exonerating herself. It was not about proving she had a $2 million life insurance policy. It was nothing. So
I also think that she is learning a lot in this trial. And I think that she is learning what she can and can't get away with. And I think she's going to try to bring it even harder for Brandon's trial. So I think she absolutely is going to continue to represent herself, and it's not going to go well for her. It's not going to go any better for her in the next trial than it has here. But I think she will have learned some things. But the only thing that Lori really cares about is manipulating the system to get what she wants. And so, we're going to continue to see that play out in court, because we've seen it in this case. I've noticed that she doesn't really care about getting evidence on the record. She just wants to know what everybody said about her.
Probably so she could face them again somewhere down the road. Who knows?
Right.
That was the key. That was the key point before lunch with the Nancy Joe testimony, because she asked her, "What all did you talk about me during your date?" And the judge says, "Are you sure you want to ask her that? Are you really sure you want to ask her that?" And it opens up a huge door. And she's like, I have a lot more to ask her. Let's go take a lunch break.
Right.
Did she say, and I wasn't sure, y'all were there. So when he asked her that, didn't she say, well, how else am I going to find out or something? Was it, or I don't know. Yeah, that's probably.
I don't remember that, but that's.
I'm gonna have to
check
go
Yeah.
the
back
video
and
feed.
check.
Yeah, I do want to put together some sort of a montage of Lori's,
Mhm.
worst
Greatest
moments. Yeah,
hits
Lori's greatest hits.
from her
Exactly.
favorite
Okay.
cousin.
Yeah, let's go back to so
Mhm.
is this the minute entry from which day?
So this was April 9th. So this is a week or so ago. This was in response to her motion to dismiss for failure to disclose exculpatory evidence and prosecutorial misconduct. So she filed that motion back on April 7th, and the judge is like,
Mm. That's
so
crazy.
she wanted, she didn't just want to dismiss, she also wanted Trina K like disciplined and maybe even
Right.
disbarred
She
for
was asking
prosecutorial
for Trina
misconduct.
to be removed from the case and to be disbarred. And this is just the kind of over the top
Mhm.
stuff that we used to see from Barry as well. And I've
Oh,
lost
God.
track now how many times I think Lori has moved 4 times. And now that she tried to rule 20, that would be 5 times that she's tried to get this case dismissed, even while the trial is going on.
Yeah, the last one is pretty standard. Like the very last one she did on what was that, Wednesday? That's
Oh, wow.
standard for the defense to move for a dismissal based on the lack of evidence
Right.
presented by the state. I mean, that's
Right.
standard, but yeah,
But this motion was not it was anything but
no.
standard, and she
Right,
got
yes.
down dirty in the mud, and she brought Trina K's personal relationship into
Yeah,
it,
that was trashy.
and it was really trashy of her to do that, and some people have suggested, and I won't name names, but more than one person, credible person, has suggested to me that her investigator, Jeff White, is a little bit and it might have been him that that gave her some of this information.
He's
You
a little
actually
bit
cut
what?
out right on that word,
Slimy,
so
Right? I missed it.
I was like,
sorry, slimy.
"Slimy."
Oh, he's well, among other things, he's also not technically savvy. Like there
Can I
was a
just bring up the fact that Jeff White has the same last name as Natalie White, who Lori was saying was some of my family's angels that were kissing her in the temple? Okay. I'm just saying because we're related to Whites. And so I'm just like, wow, he has the last name of White. Well, that's really interesting.
that
Anyways,
is interesting.
coincidences, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
She's rude. She
Well,
is
he
a
doesn't
little bit. Oh, I almost
he
cussed. I'm
doesn't
sorry.
he so in one of the pretrial hearings,
Mm.
Trina K said, well, we were supposed to receive some type of evidence from the defense's investigator. And Jeff White was like, yeah, I flew out of town. And before I flew out of town, I forgot to hit send on that email. Like, really, dude? You're the investigator in a first degree murder conspiracy trial and you forgot to hit send? And then like more recently, he said, I spent 4 hours, with Lonnie Dworkin on the phone trying to, utilize this extraction information that Chandler PD gave me, and I couldn't figure it out. I don't
Mm.
know that he's all that bright. Like
Yeah,
that's being kind.
yeah,
Well,
yeah. So
mm,
anyway, they
Anyway,
finally went over and denied this motion to
yes.
dismiss.
And this is the strongest wording that I've heard from the judge in a denial. The expert's affidavit in no way alleges the state has failed to disclose exculpatory evidence, but simply states the expert needs access to the original extractions. Okay, that's actually a good claim. We need access to the original extractions, which he spent 4 hours not knowing how to use. The motion falls woefully short in establishing a discovery violation or prosecutorial misconduct. It is ordered denying the defendant's motion. Anyway, that's pretty strong wording for Judge
yeah,
Boreski.
as
Falls
as long
woefully
as he's not
short.
using all caps and underlining stuff and
Right?
Yeah,
And exclamation marks.
right.
yeah. There was a response from the state on one of those motions where Trina K worded it so beautifully, but it basically was saying the defendant's motion is BS, but it said something about it lacks foundational truth or
Mhm.
foundational facts or something like that. I can't remember. I can't remember
Oh my
exactly.
gosh. Did you see this?
Yeah, I
Even
just saw this. The verdict will be on a 5-minute delay instead of 30-minute. You know, I'm considering going for the verdict if it happens at a
I
time that I
wanted
can
to.
go, but I kind of doubt that it will because look, if they rest on Monday, we've got closing statements which will finish Monday. The jury
It's
will
gonna be
go out to
fast.
deliberate. I don't think they're going to deliberate very
Mm,
long. And I
mm-mm.
think verdict will come back probably what do we think? Maybe Wednesday at the latest? That's
At
what
the
I
Oh,
think.
latest.
at the latest, yeah.
They're
Yeah.
gonna get a good meal, and then they're
Right.
gonna give it to her.
I
That's
want
how
my
it was in the
pizza.
other one.
Bring in some pizza, then we'll vote.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just want everybody to know, since we're here and we're talking about it, I'm not going to be in court this coming week because I am getting ready for one of my daughters to get married a week from Sunday. And so
No
Oh,
what I'm going
way.
to do,
congratulations.
yeah, so what I'm
That's
going to do
awesome.
instead is I am going to stream on my channel and I'll be there in the chat.
Mhm.
We'll stream it on my channel and then we will have verdict watch. You know, I'll have it
Yep.
on, I'll have it up and we can chat while we're waiting for the verdict watch to come in. And I'll
Tell
be
you
on
what,
as much as I can.
I am going to be in court and I will be on Twitter and I will tell you just the second that it comes in. So you get a
Perfect.
5-minute head start on everybody
Go,
else.
Joe.
Awesome.
Go,
Yeah.
Joe.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah,
I
we
can't
do.
tell ya.
I do too.
Okay, so
We all
what
do.
do we
Yeah.
have next? This is another minute entry from which
This is the
day?
same one. This is the same one we just
Oh,
looked
okay.
at. So there aren't a whole lot of motions before that. I mean, we can keep going back in time. So we have minute entries from every single day in court. Do we want to look at those? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Do we
Well,
want to look at the subpoenas?
I don't think we need to look at all of the minute entries. Bye, love you. Sorry, my son is leaving.
Love you.
Um, I don't think we need to look at all the minute entries, but I do want to look at the subpoenas and I kind of do want to go back and look at the motions just because I like to look at Lori's wording. So let's do it in that order so that people who don't care about the motions they don't have to watch the whole thing, but I do want to look at the subpoenas. Like
Okay.
the failed ones. And then I don't know if there's a way for us to make sure that we don't show any of the addresses.
Oh, I
If you
haven't
don't, if you
redacted
want to
those.
know, just call me and
I
I'll
haven't
let you know.
I haven't redacted those yet.
Okay. Well, then let's not show them, but let's have you read through them and tell us what ended up
Or
happening with those
he can
subpoenas.
redact them and maybe we can read or I don't know.
We
That way
we can redact them and show them later. I just don't want to show them
that's
now
true.
if they're not redacted.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I actually took people on a Google Earth tour of all of her failed subpoenas.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I feel bad for the process servers, the people this is still costing the taxpayers money. I'm sorry and thank you.
Yeah, I know but this is the cost of justice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she was not offered a plea deal. So she could
That's
not
awesome.
have taken a plea on this one. We were going to trial no matter what. The only thing is that she's chosen to represent herself, which actually I think has sped up the trial because she's not objecting where she should. She's not been able to call any witnesses. If she would have had a competent attorney representing her, they probably would have had more of a defense to put on.
I wonder, does her paralegal like tap her when she needs to say object, or she knows? I mean,
she's
look,
only objected a couple of times. She really only has objected a couple of times, and she could have. Like Trina Kay has been leading these witnesses.
I know
a lot. I would have objected to leading, and I'm not an attorney. You know. So.
Yeah. Oh man.
All right.
I
so
like
Joe,
this comment. It says, "Oh boy, don't flatter yourself." All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So I have one redacted already. That's the one for Robert Bobby Vallow.
Small uncle.
That she's like, oh, that was unintentional. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
Accidentally on purpose.
Right. And then I have the one for Detective Inkland, and the address on that is the Chandler PD headquarters, so that doesn't need to be redacted, obviously. So we can
I
look
guess
at either.
if you can tell us from the other subpoenas, who did she unsuccessfully subpoena?
Okay.
And
So
what can you tell us about that?
Viasia,
Vicia.
Vicia. Gosh
Mhm.
darn it. I'll get it right one of these days. I'm sorry. I
It's
don't mean to
okay.
mispronounce it.
We all do.
So this was attempted to be served on April 8th, 2025. So just 10 days ago, which we're well into the trial at this point. We're a week into the trial at this point, and she's still subpoenaing potential witnesses. The server says noise was detected at the unit number. No one would answer. There was a package for somebody else with another name. I won't say that other name, although they do specify it on the front doorstep. And no one answered at the neighbors' doors, 137 and 135. Leasing implied, so I assume he went down and talked to the leasing officer office. I assume it was like an apartment building. Leasing implied that the servee no longer resides at that address.
You go, girl. Keep going.
So
Yeah,
she had an old address for her,
right.
and tried to serve it at an old address.
Yeah, and just so that you know, this is, sorry for the dog noises. This is what the investigator's job is, to go and find out what the current address is. So they make sure that they're serving the right person, because they have to pay the process server to go out there and in some cases travel to other states or whatever. Although you're not supposed to be able to serve a subpoena out of state. So there's that. But anyway, it's a costly mistake,
Larry,
and a
Bobby.
rookie mistake to serve somebody at the wrong address.
And it's embarrassing. And then she
Yeah.
fake apologized,
Yeah.
I used to do skip tracing. I used to work for a finance company for many years, and we did skip tracing on minimal finance, overdue finance payments. And I mean, we kicked a lot of butt. It seemed like they'd be better at that.
Yeah, you would think so. Yeah, I think the investigator could have done a better job, like finding addresses, because that's an unusual name. Like, her last name is a very unusual last name, and you would think, like, through some sort of internet search, you would be able to find a more accurate address.
You forward your mail. You usually change your address. I mean,
Yep.
Anyways,
Yeah.
I just don't have the time.
Yeah. So I wanted to address this comment, and now I can't find it. Somebody said you just had a new baby and this is what you're choosing to do with your time. So it wasn't my baby. It was my grandbaby was just born in another state, and I'm not able to travel there right now because I have another kid getting married in a few days. And so, yeah, this is what I'm doing with my time. I FaceTimed her earlier today.
She's nursing right now.
Yeah, because if I'm not doing this, then I'm sitting here looking at pictures of my new grandbaby, wishing I could hold him.
Even better. Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
On both, on all.
My granddaughter is in a whole nother country, so I'm going to have to work on getting down there to see her.
I'm just waiting.
You'll get there, Kresha. You need a few more years.
All right. So Detective Inklin, she was successfully served at 250 East Chicago Street, Chandler, which if you look it up, that is the police station. It's like a whole public works thing. They have court there and all other things. So that was successfully served on Detective Inklin, but she didn't call Detective Inklin as a defense witness. Imagine that.
Odd.
Yeah. We didn't get to hear from her.
Yeah, so just so that people are caught up, in case you didn't hear what happened in court on Thursday, the jury was not present. They were going through jury instructions that day, and the judge asked, since Lori's not going to put on a defense, if they could excuse everyone who had been subpoenaed for Lori. And she agreed, yes, you can excuse everyone who's been subpoenaed for me. So none of these people are going to show up and testify. So now the only possibility is if Lori wants to testify herself on Monday and she changes her mind and tells the judge, I'm going to go ahead and testify instead of resting.
What about rebuttals? Where are those? I noticed they're absent. They would have
So
happened by now, right?
if she was going to call a rebuttal witness, that would have to be disclosed
That's
as we're
true.
going
Okay.
along, right? So
Yeah.
if, for example, if she wanted to call another detective if she wanted to call, for
Mhm.
example, let's say, what's his
Moffat.
name? Moffat. Yeah, the case agent. If
Mhm.
she wanted to call Moffat as a rebuttal witness for Duncan, then she would have had to say, after Duncan testified, she would have to disclose that to the state. That's why every day at the end of court, the judge excuses the jury and then asks if there's any other business before the court. And Lori at that time could have said, I'd like to call Detective Moffat as a rebuttal witness. And then they would have gone through all the paperwork that needs to happen for that. I think,
That makes sense.
again, not an attorney, but that's my understanding.
I've been kind of thinking about all the things that are missing from this one and how this one is very bare minimum. And I kind of appreciate it. But then I'm like, but what about this and this? I'm trusting the pros, so Lori, she's
Lori's not a pro.
She's self-complicit. Like, she implicates herself. Like, everybody got to see that. So, whew.
Yeah. So if you're just joining us, I just want to say hi to anybody who is new here, because I've gotten lots of new people lately. If you're just joining us, I'm Lori Vallow's cousin. Kresha is Kay and Larry Woodcock's daughter, Charles Vallow's niece, and Joe Schmo is just awesome.
Favorite cousin, favorite niece.
That's right. Joe is here sharing court documents with us that we're going through. And if you need an update on what's going on, I've got updates twice a day from each day of the trial. Joe Schmo has also done a lot of recaps on his channel, Joe Schmo 88. And Kresha you've been streaming it, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so Kresha's been streaming every single day during the trial and has lots of her own commentary and her own take. And I almost think, I remember when I was watching Lori's first trial, and I could just react to things authentically because I wasn't in front of an audience,
It's
in
crazy.
The courtroom. Thank goodness. So I'll just clarify for those. Some people have asked, why am I sitting in the family area? It's because I was invited by Kay to sit in the family area. So I'm technically not a victim. I'm technically not family of a victim. Charles would have been related to me only by marriage. And so technically I don't have any family rights in the courtroom, but Kay invited me to sit with the family, and I'm grateful she did, because it was one less thing for me to worry about whether or not
there was a dagger in your back.
Whether or not I was going to get a seat in court. And so that was a relief to me. And hey, sis, you should have been a detective. Good to see you.
Hey, girl.
So I was sitting next to the victim's advocate, and she had stress balls with her. And I was so grateful to have those, because there were many times when I just wanted to squeeze really tightly. And I had to, I had to stifle laughter at some points. I had to breathe really deeply at some points. It's very different being in the courtroom than it is getting to watch it in the comfort of my own home with people I love around me.
Did you find it overstimulating? That's how I find it. I'm so overstimulated.
Yeah, it wasn't overstimulating. That's not the word I would use for me myself. It was just really draining, because it's really emotional, and emotions that I can't express in the moment. So I have to wait until the very end of the day, really, because after court, I was doing my lives, and I'm trying to be analytical. I'm trying to be professional. I'm trying to, yes, I say how I feel, but I can't really express it in the moment. So I have to wait until everything's over at the very end of the day before I can let that steam off. So it was draining from that perspective.
Yeah, I found myself a couple of times saying things kind of out loud, like not loud, but like whispering them out loud, like objection. And then I had to I shouldn't be saying that out loud. I can't talk out loud. I've got to save it all.
And we've got to be quiet in the gallery, because number one, nobody wants to prevent Kay from hearing what's going on. She needs to be able to hear what's going on. The other family members, Susan and Jerry, were there as well. Charles's brother and sister.
My uncle and my aunt. That's my family, y'all. It's crazy.
Right.
So crazy.
And nobody wants to distract the jury. And every time that they played that white noise when they were doing, you guys can't hear it on the feed, but when they do a sidebar and they've got their headphones on, they play a white noise in the courtroom so that you can't hear what's being said. It's incredibly jarring. And when they turn it off, it's almost like somebody finally stopped squeezing your head. But during that white noise, people in the gallery start to get a little bit loud. And when the jury starts looking at the gallery, it gets a little concerning because the bailiffs are like, you guys cannot be talking. Hey, Diamond Dave, you made it live. Good to see you.
I'm just going to say, even from over here, family too, and just still, she still drains me. And so I asked Mom, I'm like, no wonder she has to be just depleting all of you, because through my device, she depletes me. I'm done. That's what I'm saying. It takes me a day of recovery.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely draining. All right, Joe Schmo, what else do we have in the way of subpoenas?
All right. I actually want to show these. I did manage to redact these in the last couple of minutes. I want to show the subpoenas for Melanie and Brandon Boudreaux.
So I didn't realize that she subpoenaed Melanie.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't either. I don't think she was on her witness list, was she?
She wasn't on the witness list.
Yeah.
Definitely not. So this is new. This is new tea, y'all.
Holy cow. Holy cow. That's what Melanie Gibbs is.
You're catching it fresh and live off of the court document feed.
I don't know how I feel about that.
So do you have that subpoena that she tried to serve on Melanie?
Yeah, do I not have it shared?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm the one who has to share it. Is there any address information on there or anything?
I've redacted it. I did redact it. Yep. All right. So hold on. Tab, alt tab. So this was April 9th. Hearing date. So supposedly the hearing date, see the address redacted. Good. I got it. On April 8th, I received from Maricopa County Public Defense Services the subpoena. I personally attempted to serve the aforementioned documents on Melanie Gibb in the manner set below. There's the address. So April 8th. So the day before she's supposed to show up in court, he shows up at her door, or she, whoever the process server is. There was no answer at the door. There was no activity observed, no vehicles present. I cannot see inside of the residence. No answer with the neighbors. So they don't just knock on your door. They go knock on your neighbor's door too and say, hey, do you know where this person is?
I mean, we know how they feel about their neighbors knowing things that they are not proud of. So,
right.
Wow.
And then like 12 hours, 11 and a half hours later at 9:00 p.m., no answer at the door. The house is dark, no vehicles present. So Melanie didn't actually get served, but Lori tried. She tried to serve Melanie Gibb with a subpoena.
Wow.
Oh, Gibb? I thought we were talking about Melanie.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Melanie Pulowski.
No. This is Melanie Gibb.
Melanie Gibb.
Okay. Holy cow.
She also didn't have Melanie Gibb on her witness list either.
No, she did not.
And she wanted to tell her how bad she stunk from essential oils, huh?
This goes again. Goes again to what I was saying earlier, is that she subpoenaed people who are not on her witness list. She did it purposely just to mess with them because she's mad at Melanie Gibb. The last time they had a phone call together, Melanie Gibb called Lori a Cora whore.
Laura whore was born.
Yes, exactly. So for those of you who don't know, Cora whore is not the insult you think it is. Cora whore was yet another Book of Mormon figure who was not a good person in the Book of Mormon. He was basically the Antichrist. And so, Lori, it seems, wants Melanie Gibb to be shaken in her boots, that she's going to have to show up in court and testify. So I will also tell you, if you want to avoid a process server, you can do it for a really long time. When I tried to serve my former spouse with some custody change paperwork, he evaded service for 2 weeks. Every day for 2 weeks, they went and knocked on his door, and every day for 2 weeks, he just sat in there and didn't answer the door and didn't go
He
anywhere.
probably didn't hear him again. He probably didn't hear him.
Oh, you're right. He probably had his headphones in. I'm sure he was really hard at work.
Yeah. Oh my
That's
God.
an
Or
inside
you can
joke,
just go to Gilbert Police Department. They'll help you evade mental health petitions. You know, they'll tell you how to avoid all kinds of things.
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty open.
Yikes.
Okay, so maybe you two can answer this question for me. The Brandon Boudreaux trial that we have coming up next, which I do plan on attending that one as well.
All right.
But luckily, because she didn't have any defense to present, I get a month off, right? We get a month off before we have it
won't happen during my birthday for the first time. It's not going to land on my birthday. So yay. All right. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, as of right now, the timeline for the next trial is that they're going to start sending out jury questionnaires on May 21st. And then the trial is scheduled to start on June 2nd. And they're going to go Monday through Friday on that trial.
It feels like that's going to go quick. Did they say how long it's going to, did they estimate?
So they scheduled way more time for this next trial than they did for this one. And Trina K was actually asking for more time. So let me break it down for y'all.
Yeah.
June 2nd through 6th. And then June 9th through 16th, those are 2 consecutive weeks. And then the judge says that the courtroom is not going to have lights on from the 16th to the 20th. He used a different word. But I'm not.
You're not going to use that word?
I'm not going to say the court is dark, but that's what he said.
You just said it. You just said it.
Yeah, we're going dark.
So then he said we could go the following week from the 23rd to the 25th. And Trina K was actually asking for them to extend it to the 3rd of July. But Judge Boreski said, if we do that and we ask the jury, the trial could last that long, they're afraid they're going to get people saying, no, we can't come because of, vacation travel that weekend. But it's more time than this trial was. And Trina K's argument on that basically was just that she was expecting that maybe the defense is going to have more witnesses at that time, or maybe she was going to have more objections or whatever. She's just thinking that Lori is going to put up a bigger defense in this case.
Well, I'm curious. So this trial went 2 weeks. We're going to be wrapped up by Tuesday, Wednesday at the most. Why can't they start the next one earlier? Why can't they get the jury questionnaires out the end of April?
He's also
instead of the 3rd week of May
on vacation. I remember him saying that.
Yeah,
I think he said he's not available May 19th, but that is literally the only date between now and then that he said he's not available. He's got training in June, so that's why the court is dark for a week in June, because he's got some kind of judge training. But move it up. We're going to be done. Move it up, people.
It's scary too. All in the same. I don't know. Lots of emotions.
My understanding of why they can't just start the next trial right away is that Trina K's got to call, if she's got witnesses from out of town, for example, the Idaho detectives, etc. She needs time for that. They also need time they've got to come up with the questionnaires and send the questionnaires out. So here's the behind the scenes timeline. On the 14th, there's going to be the final trial management conference. Lori's asking for a 404B hearing, and then they're going to start sending questionnaires out to the jury May 21st through the 27th, and then they will meet on the 29th at 1 p.m. to go over those responses. And then they're expecting in-person jury selection to start on the 30th at 10 a.m. And then court begins the next weekend. So there's a lot.
Yeah, and
going
if you think about it from a practical standpoint, 6 weeks to prepare for a capital case is not a long time. It's not. So
It's not.
I'm ready for it to be over though, and I know you two are way more ready for it to be over than I am. So
Yeah,
I'll stop
definitely.
complaining about it at some point in time.
No,
Probably.
it's good. I think all of us we're all ready for it to be over with. I'm just really grateful. I started to say earlier in the video that I just was so glad to get out of Arizona once I got the information that I was there to get. I couldn't get home fast enough. And in fact, I'll tell you, I almost walked out of the courtroom after Adam's testimony and got on a plane and went straight home. I was that upset. It took me.
Who can't do that is Lori. And
Lori
so
Horn.
that has to feel good.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't, I decided to stick it out and, go to trial while I could go to trial, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to go this week or next week, and so I decided to just stick it out. I'm glad that I did, but I'm very relieved to be done with it. And what I was saying, I interviewed with Susan Hendricks earlier today, and I said to her that I was totally unprepared for what it was going to be like to be in such close proximity to evil for such a long time. And to sit in the courtroom and listen to her be so disrespectful of her victims and to be so dismissive and to have zero recognition for the things that she's done and the people that she's harmed. And at one point during the text messages, I had to stop taking notes because I was so upset. And I just wrote in my notebook, she has ruined so many lives. For what? In the end, for what? Anybody would have taken those kids off her hands if she wanted them to. Any family member would have taken them.
It wasn't about that. It was about taking them away. Lori uses them as pawns. Everybody is a pawn.
It was all about control.
That day, and I know I'm an outsider. I'm not a family member. But that day that Kresha, your mom, testified, I was the most upset and pissed off at Lori as I've ever been in my entire life, for two main reasons. The two things that hit me the most and disturbed me the most were, one, the fact that she cremated your Uncle Charles and just shipped him back to the business office is so disturbing and so disgusting to me. And then two, the fact that she took JJ to Hawaii when she could have just left him with your mother and Larry. And instead, weeks later, what happened in Idaho happened in Idaho. Months later, weeks later, whatever the timeline is, JJ, there was an out for JJ. There was an out. He had a place that was a safe place to be. And instead she chose to do what she did. And I have never felt that much. I can't even express what the emotion is towards her that day. I left an emotional wreck that day. And it still bothers me to a level, and I have no idea how consequential that is to you guys, because you're so much closer to it than I am. And I'm just on the outside looking in, and it enraged me that day.
Yeah, definitely. Trace, on the case, I agree with this. The look on the jury's face when Kay said that Lori FedEx Charles's remains to her, it was just, it was shocking. Some of them had their mouths partially open. Just, wow. I didn't even know that at that point. And so I definitely, I was definitely shocked by that as well, and infuriating. And it's there are no words for it, and you can't express it in the moment in the courtroom, and so you just have to stuff it down. And it's, that's why I wanted to connect with you today, Kresha, because I wanted to see how you were doing. I know this has got to been really horrible for you, and you're a little bit isolated there by yourself with your mom here, so how are you?
I mean, I don't know, that just everything with my mom is very triggering. When my mom was actually testifying to how she found out, So I was there at my mom's office whenever my mom left with my daughter to go get their nails done. So I'm like, mom tells her part, testifies to it, and then I'm the next part when they come back. And that's whenever my mom drove like a bat out of hell, sliding into the park, to the driveway. Rocks were flying. I froze because I freeze. So I was doing that before all this happened. But so I froze, like, what the hell is going on? Like, what's going, I'm just trying to figure it out. The vehicle didn't even stop all the way. My daughter's door, she was on the passenger side. Her door flung open. It wasn't even stopped yet. She jumped out, and I'm just like, what the hell? I'm just stuck. And Ashlyn, my daughter, she's running towards me. She's screaming. I see mom get out of the driver's side. She's got the phone. I found out she was on the phone with Cole, my cousin. And Ashlyn's like, Mom, they killed him. And I'm like, what? And it just was, it gives me chills. But it also, I remember how I couldn't figure out why I was so hesitant to cover this I don't know. It's like he deserves his justice. My uncle deserves his damn justice. Geez.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what it was that was making me just dread this. And I finally figured out without thinking about it. It just kind of popped into my head. I was like, oh my God, I was traumatized. That moment, my life changed.
Yeah.
Never has looked the same. I don't know who I was before this. I don't even know. I can't even picture it. And my life was shattered that day. And then to watch my whole family, and especially my parents, do what they've had to do to advocate for, hopefully it was, hopefully to be the safe return of Tylee and JJ, but that's unfortunate and tragic. That's the tragedy in all this, is the kids, they didn't have the choice. And it just bothers me. And I just, like you, I don't want this to happen anymore to anyone else. That's enough. So I just, it was re-triggering, and I don't know those kind of words, like you tell me about self-care, and I'm like, what is that? But my body tells me, and so I've been able to go at it for a day, and then I'm wiped out. I don't even want to look at it, which is weird for me. Thank you. But it's all traumatizing to us. I believe. I do. I know that you found out in a very crappy way, and I don't like that happened for you. And I'm sorry that happened for you the way that it did. And so I'm glad you found your way over here to your real family. Okay. I'm so glad. Because you're always welcome here. There's no conditions. Okay. Just know that.
Thank you. I'm so glad that we have each other. It's so hard to go through something like this without having people who understand it at this level, and I can't talk to my family about it,
So sad.
It's, I was talking about this the other night on one of my videos, like these concentric circles that come out from a tragedy, and at the very center are you and your parents and your aunts and uncles, who were Charles's
my nephew,
siblings. And then the next circle out is, the other related family. And I feel like I'm kind of like the third circle out, being a cousin, to Lori, and, not really knowing the kids that well and not knowing Charles that well.
I didn't either.
But it feels like the people who are in the same ring as me, like in that sort of third circle out,
it's an understanding.
It's a lot easier for people that far away from it to disconnect from it and to just say, it sucks, it's horrible, I did my grieving and I'm done. And, so like, for example, my sister doesn't want to dig into it because it's very disturbing. Of course, yes, it's disturbing. And if I didn't feel like I had a mission to teach people about people like Lori, I probably would have disconnected from it too, because it's a lot easier not to deal with it,
I wish I had that option. I don't possess it whatsoever. But I think everybody has the right to grieve. Everybody grieves in their own way. And no, we shouldn't judge people for how they grieve. And we don't want people judging us for how we grieve. You know, like, why are you in this anyways? What's it got to do with you? You only knew him for 2 seconds. I mean, really, what are we really that petty to say who can and cannot grieve the people when
Right.
you're actually in here as a viewer? You know, that's what I'm like, what? I appreciate you guys, you know, but we sometimes don't really think about what we're saying when we say,
Yeah.
trust me, I know firsthand. But I've learned that along this way. We had 2 hurricanes. We had Hurricane Laura and then Hurricane Delta. I mean, and then the kids were found it was the pandemic. Lori was extradited. My fiance had a thoracotomy all at the same time. Then we had Kylie and JJ were found and rescued, in my opinion. And then we had Laura. And then we had a tropical storm. Then we had Delta. So it was the Trauma Tour 2020 is what I call it. And I mean, I was reeling, like I didn't even know. And so it was hard. It was hard, but I don't remember I just did it. I just did what I had to do. I just put one foot in front of the other, one breath, one breath, one breath. And it was so hard really to do without my mom and my dad because they were trying to tend to this stuff. And it was so paralyzing. And I actually reached out to a local grief group, and I'm saying this because it's important. I think it is. I didn't even realize what happened at the time. I reached out to a local grief group, which is crazy that I even did that. First off, I don't remember, but anyway, so I emailed them. They emailed me back. They were like, yeah, we heard it was a lake family that happened to, a lake area family. And they were like, but you have to be a mother, a father, an uncle. I'm sorry, mother, father, grandpa, grandmother, brother, sister, that dynamic. And so I'm a niece and I'm an aunt. Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't qualify. And they also, I didn't realize at the time, but I went back to look, but they never pointed me in a direction that would help me. They just left me. Like, when I realized that, I was so devastated and rejection and just like, oh my God, I'm not relevant. Like my feelings, my part, my role, my relationship, my grief, it don't count. And I mean that it bothers me. So say if you have a pet rock, if you have a damn plant, if you have your animals, like nobody gets to tell you who you can and cannot love. Okay. Yeah. So that we've got to expand that a little bit, not just, I know there have to be parameters, but there's got to be something. And hopefully that's in the line of things I want to do, but everybody does though. We all have trauma. And so instead of trauma bonding like we do, that's what we do. This has been very helpful for me. Talk therapy. I feel like I owe you guys so much, and thank you.
Yeah, I'm really glad that we found each other and that we're here unpacking this together. And I think it does help people. Yeah. I think it helps people to see ways to deal with this, in healthier ways and to be kind and respectful. And I know there are channels out there that are not, and I'm just going to let them,
Yeah.
Yeah. And, people have the right to grieve the way that they're going to grieve, and no one should tell you how you can grieve either.
Yeah. You're not related enough. Mm-hmm.
Right. Or when people choose to disconnect and not dig into it, I honor that. When people choose to dig into it like you have, I honor that. And everything in between, grief is such a complicated thing. And we all do it differently, and not to say that any one way is healthier or not healthier, because we're all so different that there are different ways for each of us that can be healthy. So
my life mantra is live and let live, love and let love, and now grieve and let grieve.
I love that. I've never heard that.
Yeah,
I love that, Joe. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. Well, let's see what else Joe has for us here.
All right, let's look at Brandon Boudreau's subpoena attempt.
You guys go
I do
ahead.
have
I
that
can hear
redacted.
you, but I'm going to go grab some water. So keep going.
Okay. Well, okay.
Oh.
She didn't share the PDF. So
Well,
I can't-
Jen Lord says grieving is a part of healing, and I think that's
Sorry.
there, right.
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks, Megan. Thank you. Now I can share this. All right. So what was that, Kresha? I'm sorry.
It was Jen Lord. They said grieving is a part of healing, and I mean,
Absolutely,
that's very true.
absolutely, it is. Yeah, I lost my mother in '99 in a car accident. Isn't the right word, because a semi truck drove through a red light and struck her broadside. So that's not an accident, but grieving was definitely part of my healing process through that. And I still miss my mom today. That was 26 years ago next month.
I'm sorry to hear that, and I'm sorry for your loss, Joe. And it's also, I'm glad you said that it's you continue to grieve, and so that I think it just continues. It's a continuum, and it just ebbs and flows.
Yeah, I think the best honoring of those people that we miss and we grieve for is to keep their voice alive, which is why I'm so grateful to have met you, because you help to keep JJ alive. Like, I didn't know JJ till I met you, and now I feel like I know that beautiful little boy.
Thank you.
I didn't before. Like,
thank you.
Yeah,
it means a lot. Just when we stop saying their names is when they truly die, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. So this is another unsuccessful subpoena service.
Yes, correct. So on April 8th. So we're in the middle of the trial. We're a week into the trial. She's serving all these subpoenas. I'm like, good grief. Do you really? So
busy translated B.
I think it was like
this is still Melanie Gibb. This is still Melanie Gibb. Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go. Here's Brandon Boudreau. There we go. Boom. Right there.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you, Gina.
On April 8th. So same day they attempted service on Melanie Gibb. They attempted once at a little after noon. So they tried Melanie Gibb at 9:30, and they went over to Brandon Boudreau's address. I could not see into the residence. Movement was not noticed inside. No answer at the door. Dog barking. Toyota with Utah plate. Oh shoot, I didn't.
Yeah, I was like,
no. I'll go back.
We need that 5-minute barrier, that 30-minute delay.
Yeah,
right? Right. Doggone it.
I'll go back through and edit that out so that we don't have that showing.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Let me know when you have it redacted and I'll put it back up.
Yeah, give me
thank you, Shannon. He was cool.
Apply.
I
forgot they showed that license plate.
I can't wait till Brandon releases the ring footage from him looking inside and the dog barking.
It's redacted now. It's redacted. Sorry about that, people.
Sorry, B.
I forgot they had the Utah plate in there anyway.
Yeah.
But that is interesting that it's a Utah plate in Arizona. I mean, doesn't mean anything. It's nothing significant, but it's interesting to me.
Well, no, but I don't know about you guys, but every time I see a plate from Utah, I'm like, oh, there's a Mormon.
Right.
I know that's not true, but that's just, as a Mormon who grew up outside of Utah, every time I saw a Utah plate, I was like, oh, there's somebody who's also a Mormon. That's where that thinking came from, and it's still in there.
You know what I think?
Right.
I think, oh my God, there's so many passive aggressive drivers here in Idaho and Utah. I'm like holding on for dear life. Like, why is everybody so angry? Oh yeah, I'm talking about you. Anyways.
Okay, so this was Melanie Gibbs, and then they went to Brandon Boudreau next.
Yeah, this is Brandon Boudreau's right here with the Utah plate in the driveway. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's it. They have the affidavit after that. We don't need to read through that because I mean they never served it on them. It was unsuccessful. Right.
Okay.
But we do have a motion now from the state regarding the 2022. So if you look at the case records, 2021 is the trial we're in right now. That was
Right.
the one
Charles.
for Charles Vallow, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Charles Vallow. And now 2022 is the same thing, but with Brandon Boudreaux, where Alex missed his shot and Brandon is alive yet today.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
Utah.
The state of Arizona hereby provides notice that the state intends to use. They didn't use this in the 2021 case, so this is interesting to me. This was just dropped yesterday. The state intends to use the defendant's other acts as evidence of the conspiracy and or to establish premeditation and or to establish motive pursuant to Rule 404B of the Arizona Rules of Evidence. The state believes that this testimony and evidence is admissible to establish the conspiracy and premeditation, but is filing this motion as it would be admissible to establish motive pursuant to 404B2. The motion is supported by the following memorandum of points and authorities. The defendant is charged with conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. The state will use cell phone records, iCloud accounts, and witness testimony. They didn't file this in the 2021 case. This is interesting to me.
This is different.
iCloud accounts, witness testimony to establish that the defendant believed that the victim was quote unquote dark and or a zombie. Oh my gosh, that's in a court record. That is in a court record, dark and or a zombie. Oh my goodness.
Wild.
What? I was answering comments. So what? Say that again. The state will use cell phone records, iCloud account, and witness testimony to establish that the defendant believed that the victim was dark and or a zombie. Okay.
Yeah.
And Gadianton Robert. I was surprised to watch them pass over that so easy, especially with it being Gadianton. And I'm like, that's what Brandon, that's, I mean, I know, but still establishing that into record would have been important in my mind.
Yeah. I wish they would have revisited that, or I wish they would have made him like, go look it up in your report or something, because I would have,
just like
I wanted to know if he was aware of the implication of that. I think it's important. So I went and made a quick little video. It's like 2 minutes long.
Good.
About the Gadiantons. It's just basically Gadianton robbers was a group of bad people in the Book of Mormon that they were always conspiring against the good people. And so it was almost like every time something bad happened, they were like, must be the Gadiantons. But they basically say in the Book of Mormon that Satan put it into the hearts of these people to have secret handshakes and secret oaths that they took with each other, and secret meetings where they would infiltrate the government and overthrow the government, or they would conspire to murder someone. And so they were called the Gadianton robbers, and then their conspiracies were called secret combinations. And
Melanie Gibb called this a secret combination.
Yes. And so Chad, referring to people as the Gadiantons, one of the other Gadiantons, that just means anybody who's conspiring against Lori and Chad. And so that would have been, I think he said it must have been Kay or one of the other Gadiantons when they were talking about changing the beneficiary on the life insurance.
And as dark as that person that will just spell Hitler. That's what they said, Brandon, was equal to, and we know they project. So
yeah.
Okay, so here's something that came up with Detective Duncan that I don't know the answer to. And Kresha, if anybody knows, who are the last 24? Because she said, now we know who the last 24 are. And I don't know what that references to.
The last one of the 24, and I think they had this theory that there were 24 total zombies that needed to be
know. I will never believe that they just self-assumed all these missions. I think that they were assigned, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. You are too.
Yeah. So
kind of going at different angles, but I don't think so.
So just so that you guys are aware, if you haven't ever listened to Kresha before, Kresha has done a lot of research into these groups about
Gadians.
she calls them Gadiantons, like all of
I
these
will today.
little cults all over the place. And I actually did a video about it too, where I don't believe that the 7 gatherers were those 7 women in the trial that were named. I think they called themselves the 7 gatherers, but because I have had people reach out to me to talk about these other believers in Idaho and other places that were following Chad and Lori, they were part of these preparing a people groups, part of the Avow website. I had lots of people reach out to me and say, "You're right. There are more groups in the world that believe what Lori and Chad were teaching." And some of these people were former members of these groups. Some of these people were adjacent to these groups. And I had 3 different people come and tell me independently of each other, and 3 people who did not know each other, who came to me and said that Chad was acting on guidance that he was receiving from a little white book that he got from someone else who was the real person in charge, and that Chad was one of the 7 gatherers. And so there are 6 more Chads out there,
Oh no.
according to these people.
Peter Griffin. Peter Griffin.
6 more leaders of little cults. So I did a whole video on my channel. You can find it. It's called Chad Daybell's Little White Book.
It's a good one.
If you want to go down the rabbit hole a little bit, you can go watch that video. And believe me, when I say that is just the tip of the iceberg, Kresha has way more information on this. And I think, you know, when the trial is over and we have more brain space,
come with me.
We'll start collaborating.
I'll get you some hip boots and you can just get all up in the SHIT with me, okay?
Yeah, for sure.
It's messy there. It just matches the rest of it though. But this is the enterprise, in my opinion, and this is what I'm tracking down and putting into a nice formal legal document, and then it's all like you'll hear the fireworks explode.
Yeah.
When it comes
so Rhonda K is asking, who are the 7? Well, I don't know for sure.
Nicole.
I know the name of one of them, but beyond that, I don't know. But that's what we've been trying to find out.
The ones in the FOIA docs and that have been referred to during this trial or whatever, and in this case, I'll just say the case. But it's Lori, Melanie Boudreaux, Melanie Gibb, Nicole Earl, Serena Sharp, Christina Atwood, Zalema Pastenes. 7. And we know that they were over healing and music. So let's just sit with that for a minute.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And we saw a few of those in this trial. We had a couple of those on the stand in this trial.
I was here for it too. Did you like that, Megan?
A what? You had a
Did you like whenever Serena was on the stand and Christina? Did you like any of that? Or I mean, it was disgusting, but
yeah, I mean, it was good to have them come and talk about their experience. But I was really disturbed to find out that Christina said to Lori, if anything happens to Charles, I'm going to have to go to police. And then she didn't actually ever go to the police.
Amen. Thank you.
Right?
They're all talk.
Right?
All talk. All talk. No action.
Say something. And if you are going to say something, actually say it to the people who need to hear it.
Be like Lamar's ex-wife, Debbie. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
She saw something, she said something, and she gets demonized for it.
Okay,
Right.
so we got off on a little bit of a tangent. We were asking about who the 24 were. We can all speculate about who the total 24 zombies
My mom
were.
was in there. Can
We
just
know
say that?
some of them. Yeah, your mom was in there. We know that some of the people are on Chad's list that he labeled dark. Barry was labeled dark. So there were some people that we do know of, but we don't know all of the 24.
Right. Brandon was labeled dark, and
Yes.
Alex took a shot
Zach.
at him.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
And I want to answer this question because lots of people have asked me this in the comments. The text about the Nephi and Laban ending was Melanie Gibb asking Zulema what happened to Charles. Zulema responded to Melanie, it was a Nephi and Laban ending. They can't bring that into evidence because neither one of the people who sent that text were on the witness stand. And so they would have had to call one of those two as witnesses. And, you know, you also have to consider when someone's called as a witness, the opposing side, it's their job to dig up dirt on those witnesses and try to impeach them either with their character or with things they've done in the past or things they've said in public. And neither one of those would have looked good. So, Wendy Rogers, do you remember in the text messages in trial, or maybe you didn't watch trial, but Lori said, bad news, or guess who's the latest one that's on the list of Z's? And Alex guessed, Brandon, ? Pops ? That was referring to their dad, Barry. So they
what is your speculation on that? Or one day maybe we should do that too. Why would Barry be dark?
Well, Barry would be dark if he said anything to contradict what Lori said, or to say anything negative about Chad, or to contradict any of her visions or whatever. So, you know,
or if he sold her insurance policy like she was claiming there in pretrial.
Right.
That was crazy.
Yeah. Or if Barry had ever done anything or said anything against Lori, he would have been labeled dark. So that's kind of what we saw.
Yeah.
All right. So what else do we have, Joe? We're at 1:55 right. And I need to go make dinner at some point.
Okay.
We'll be there.
So we hear about darkened zombie in this official court filing. Interesting. Yeah. The evidence that the defendant, Chad Daybell and Alex Cox, believed the victim was dark will be used to prove the conspiracy, but is also relevant to establish the motive. So wait, that's
this
it from
is Brandon's or
Brandon's trial.
Okay,
yes,
and
this
Trina.
is for the
okay,
next
I'm
trial.
like, wait, who am I rooting for? Okay, I'm like, yes, y'all. And I think I'm like enough feelings removed for that one that I can dive back in. But
all right, so then we have a little bit of a status conference on that one. That's the 2022 case, Brandon Boudreaux's trial. It is ordered setting this matter for trial on May 30th. It is further ordered the final trial management conference will be on May 14th, and a status conference will be held on May 29th. So I just want to show that real quick. Those were dropped overnight, basically.
Yeah, because they decided all of that on Thursday. So what else do we have?
What are you having for supper? Some enchiladas?
I don't know. And since I haven't decided yet, it's very likely that I will go buy some pork chops or steak and grill because that's fast and easy.
Oh my God, that sounds so good. Damn it, Megan.
Come on over, girl.
I'm coming. Be there in 6 hours.
Some steaks on the grill and open a bottle of wine. We'll just have a nice
night.
Oh
my God, we will not make it tomorrow. It's been a long time. Oh my God, we need to do that though for once. One time.
We definitely do. And then thank you so much, Gina Tracy, for this super sticker. I'm trying to say thank you to everybody for their support. I really, really appreciate that.
AJ says, remember the devil tacos? Satan tacos, girl, we got it.
Okay, nobody has informed me of this devil tacos thing. Somebody's got to bring me up to speed on that.
Satan's taco.
We'll have to do some Gaddy Anton something, right? What can go with Gaddy Anton? Anyways, we need to make a cookbook.
That's right. So I do have a few questions that are starred that I would like to just get to quickly if we can. And you're done, Joe? We don't have any more paperwork to go through?
Nothing new and exciting.
Okay, good. Thank you for doing that, Joe. I really appreciate it. We don't know if Lori has been excommunicated. Nobody has leaked that. That's the only reason we know that Chad was, because somebody leaked the excommunication letter. But Lamar did get excommunicated twice. The first, I believe that he had some intimate relationship on his mission, and the other was for something related to that later on when he was a little older. But it's saying something that he went through the whole process to get rebaptized, because it's a process. You have to go to your bishop, confess what you did. They hold a whole council to excommunicate you. Then you have to go back to your bishop and say, I'd like to be rebaptized. And the bishop has to prescribe you like a year-long repentance process where you have to meet with the bishop once a week. And then you have to get interviewed by the bishop and the stake president. And then they send a letter to the first presidency of the church to ask, to say, basically, this person did this in the repentance process. Can they be rebaptized? And Alex did that twice. But apparently, according to Mormon legend, if you get excommunicated 3 strikes, you're out. So,
Interesting.
Lynn says,
he had to have gotten excommunicated early because Debbie, his ex-wife, they were married in the, back in earlier in the 90s, early 90s, maybe.
I think
and it was a short marriage, and he had already been excommunicated, I think, by that time once.
Yeah, once. Yeah, because that was on his mission when he was like 19.
Where did he go on a mission? Do you know? I was wondering that.
I don't remember.
Right. I've not heard anybody say anything.
I know that either Adam or Alex went to South Carolina, but I don't remember which. So sorry about that. Lynn says, do you think Rex and Adam will continue to cover for Janice Berry in summer after those texts? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, because only from the standpoint where I'm not going to talk trash about any of my family members. I will leave that for them to do about me. Well, not Rex and Adam anyway. I'll talk trash about Summer, Janice, Lori, anybody who's been complicit in harming children. I'll talk trash about them all day long.
Right.
But from the standpoint that I do know there are certain things that Adam and Rex have sort of been in denial about or haven't really fully confronted. So it'll be interesting now that this new information has come out, if they will change that position or not. I'll be interested to know if that's the case. But I don't really plan on listening to their podcast because they have said not nice things about me on there. So the end.
Yep.
That's Trish wants to know, for sure. Did you see the comment in a Facebook group from a former employee of the jail where Lori is? She was talking about how the female inmates clap and cheer when she comes back in from court. I will read it.
Are you shitting me?
Nope.
I'm sorry I said it. Oh my God, no.
I will read it for you. I work with the legal system and my curiosity got the better of me, so I wandered over to the jail to say hi to some old coworkers. Sad to say, some of these women clap and cheer when Lori comes back. She's a leader and a hero in their eyes, yelling things like, "You got this, girl. Jesus won't let you fail. And you can represent me anytime." I'm just going to put out there that getting adulation from everybody in cell block C is not that big of a deal. I don't think I would want to be cheered by these women in prison or in jail.
They're probably happy when she's gone because she's, oh my God.
They say, saying God is on her side. Some CEOs told me that women seek her out and most don't know about her previous charges, or if they do, there's been no backlash. They have recovered heights with women telling her about an issue, and she will respond with a Bible verse to help them through their issue. I think they mean like when they send little paper airplanes through the bars or whatever, they send notes to each other. She'll respond with a Bible verse. Yeah, she talks about Jay and Tylee like they're still alive in present tense. She also tells them that she can speak to people that have passed, that she gets visits at night. She doesn't need sleep. There's other stuff, but like she hates the food and the underwear. But those are the ones that stuck out the most.
Really?
Oh, and our married woman is very flirty with the male correction officers, but we kind of knew she would be.
No way. That is totally outside of the realm of possibility. No way.
What, Lori? No way.
Okay, so there's Mormon, there's the Jesus jammies, and then there's prison jammies, and she's bitching about prison jammies. How horrible are they? I'm asking.
They must be really bad if she's complaining about them. But so for those who don't know, Mormons who go through the temple wear undergarments or underwear that are symbolic of what they do in the temple. Some people refer to them as magic underwear. And Lori, and what it is it's a brief for women that goes down to their knees, and then a t-shirt that has sleeves on it. Now they recently came out with some sleeveless garments for hotter climates, but I'll just tell you that Lori said to me one time that they didn't need to do the garments like that. They could just have a little bra and panties with the right markings, and then that would be fine. So she's particular.
I
about
hope
it.
they're big and just I hope. I'm just
And
gonna
then Valerie Nelson says, "Are any of your side of the family attending the wedding? You all seem so close at one time. Are you talking about me?"
right.
Um,
What?
we all seemed so close at one time. I don't know. So if you're talking about my extended family, no, it's a very, very small wedding. So my sister and her family will be there. My parents will be there. The
Ugh.
groom's mom and siblings will be there. I think his dad might be coming as well, but
Oh,
we didn't invite extended family because they wanted it to be very small and very intimate. And so it's going to be a tiny little ceremony. And then they wanted to spend all of their money on their honeymoon. So they're going to a very fancy honeymoon. So
there
there's
you
that.
go.
That's kind of the right way to do it, I think,
Absolutely. 100%.
Honestly, if I was going to get married again, I probably would not have any kind of a party. I would just go out with my individual friends and family members one at a time and say, like,
Mhm.
here's our celebration dinner for this. Anyway, I don't know, whatever. It's silly to even think about it right
And your
now.
husband.
So do we think, sorry, thank you, Dr. Vonda K, for the super
Hey, Dr.
sticker.
Fonda.
I appreciate it. So Stacy Daubenberger
No.
says, do any of you think more charges will be filed once Arizona's done with Lori? I
No.
don't think they'll file charges against Lori, but I think they could file charges against people
Done
who
with
have
Lori.
been conspirators in here, co-conspirators, and what did I say earlier? Accessories. I hope
I
they
mean,
do.
obstruction, anything, lying for the
If
Lord.
they, yeah, lying for the
Yeah,
Lord.
Melanie Gibb. I've watched Melanie Gibb's police interview multiple times, and she absolutely lied to them. Like,
That's all she does. She's the spinner. She
provably.
spins all the info in order to detach herself and David from the crime scenes.
Yep,
Scenes. I said plural
I agree with
because,
you.
yeah, we'll get into that after all
Yep.
this is over.
Jenbug says, question, did Lori think she would keep receiving the money after the kids were missing forever? Well, I think at a minimum, Lori thought she was going to get away with everything she was doing. I don't think she ever expected to be
She did
caught.
wrong.
And she and Chad
Right.
also believed the world was going to end. So
Chad applied for Medicaid straight up. He
did he
applied for
really?
Medicaid.
I didn't
He
know that.
did. I'm like, wow, dude.
Oh,
Handing
goodness.
out $8,000 per kid the day he gets arrested, but he's applying for
Mm.
Medicaid right before that, trying to bleed the beast. So,
Oh, that's
mm,
right. They have that whole bleed the
mhm,
beast mentality. They're trying to suck out the government.
how to
Stephanie DK,
dismantle.
do you really think any family member would have taken them? In most families, the maternal grandmother would have insisted on keeping the kids, certainly while Lori settled in Idaho. Yes, I think any family member, yes, I guess I'm not understanding your question,
All
maybe.
of them.
But definitely Kay would have taken in JJ and
It wasn't an
Tylee.
option,
You
you
know,
know?
I know she wasn't an option because she was labeled dark, but, Summer even said, we wouldn't have wanted the kids to be with them necessarily, but that would have been better than the alternative, right? I would have taken the kids,
And
Tylee,
now strangers have offered
yeah.
everybody, and
I
and
mean,
so it
Tylee's
just
a
it
little
wasn't an
younger
option.
than one of my daughters, actually the daughter who's getting married. She's a little
Oh,
younger than that daughter, and that would have been great. I would have loved to have that happen, but I wouldn't have been an option either because, anyway,
it
it's
wasn't it wasn't put there.
it's a
It was
pointless speculation, but it's, I only say that because it just proves how selfish Lori was.
yeah.
Because if I decided right now that I just wanted to have a different life and I was like, I'm not going to be a mom anymore, I would make sure that my kids were taken care of at least.
Yeah,
I would
here you
I would at
go,
least,
I'm
"Look, I
done.
don't
I
wanna be a
actually
mom
respect
anymore.
that. I
I'm
respect
gonna
that.
be selfish. I'm gonna go live my life in Hawaii wherever I want to."
Mhm. I
I
think we
would
need to
probably,
talk about that openly more often,
yeah,
because I mean, it is a thing. People do say, "I'm done," and they end up doing some really bad things to undeserving children.
yeah,
So, I think we need to, you know, be a little more graceful on women who are just like, I'm done, I'm checking out," but instead of choosing the ways that they are choosing, you know, make it okay to say you're not okay, to ask for that help, to get that help, to if you want to reunite with your child in the future, you know, just whatever that is.
Yeah,
Just
I
I don't
also
know.
want to destigmatize people who don't want to be mothers. Like,
Mhm.
let's just
Mhm.
destigmatize that. I think we can all agree
Oh God.
that some women should never be mothers, especially if we
Mhm.
look at it in light of this case. There are some women who should never be mothers. And if someone doesn't want to be a mother, we should not force them to be a mother, because then things like this end up happening and it's
Shame on.
tragic.
Yeah.
So do
So
you think that the LDS Church puts pressure on women to become mothers?
Mhm.
absolutely 100%. Like, your only value in Mormonism is as a mother and a wife. That's it. They tell you your highest calling is to be a mother.
It's so sad. And it's tragic, and it happens way more than we are even aware of. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to look at the statistics on that and find out.
Speaking of motherhood, I had to speak with a child for a moment.
Hey, child.
Um, 0, I don't think Colby has had 5 years of support. When air drop away, he needs some people to stay for his sake. Yeah, I please go support Colby's channel. He's lost so much, and he's done so much hard work to get where he is, and he needs support and
Mhm.
kindness and understanding, and he really is. He has lost more than almost anybody in this whole case. He's lost his whole family, the only person he ever really knew as a father figure, and I feel for him, so please go support his channel.
I thank God for Kelsey, y'all. I
I do
really
too.
do.
I do too.
Kelsey,
I
you're a
heard
rock
that
girl.
Colby and Kelsey will be in court on Monday. I hope they make it there. What have been your guys' most effective methods of processing anger safely and effectively? Joe and I talked about this the last time we had an episode together. I find cursing to be very effective at processing anger. And also, I will say I've done a lot of research on this, because I used to believe that, yelling, screaming, throwing things, not in any damaging way, or at people or anything like that. But, I used to say, go outside and hit a tree with a stick or something, to do that. But
Mhm.
I've heard recently the research says that those types of things actually elevate the cortisol level in your body, and it makes it harder for you to release the anger. So for me personally, I find that deep breathing works really, really well, especially right in the moment, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And the more silently you can do it, the faster it goes. For me, anyway. I don't know if that works for you guys or not.
You take a metal bat, you take the padding, the grip off of it, you strip it down towards just bare metal. You find a tree outside, pretty sturdy, and you go to town. I've bent a bat doing that. It like grounds you back into your body. It discharges all that energy. So even if you're not mad, even if you're just ADHD like me and spaz like me, then you get it. So it really does help.
I thought you were going after the back of Lamar's head with that bat.
And Easton, I'm Easton, so get an Easton bat. Okay.
Oh yeah, Easton's
If
are
it
good
only,
bats.
if
Those are
only
good.
it went to my family fund,
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, I love Kresha's deep dives. Heather asks, what do they do in the temple? Girl, that is a rabbit hole for another time.
That's like a
What they're doing.
16-hour conversation.
Fight club. It's a fight club.
Yeah, it's a conversation for another day. But just to say that Mormons believe that when you go in the temple, that you make higher promises with God, and they teach you the secret handshakes that you need in order to get into heaven. And that is not a joke.
What's funny is, to me, growing up in the church and learning progressively, so they say line upon line, precept upon precept, right? You get to the point where, so my whole life in the church as a teenager, going to seminary every morning, like secret combinations and handshakes were an evil thing.
Yes, exactly. We just talked about the Daddy Antons.
Yeah.
You swear an oath,
but then you get to the temple and all of a sudden they're not an evil thing.
Right. because
They're what
it's
we
double
do.
speak, and
Right.
it's just one of the one of the plethora of issues.
Yeah, and I will make a temple video at some
Right.
point. It's just kind of
Oh,
fallen lower on my priority list since I've been dealing with the
oh,
trial and all of that. So, Heather, thank you for sharing this, and I really
mm,
appreciate it, and my heart
sorry.
goes out to you.
So sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
You're not alone. Just know that there's way more people than just here, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And also I said this during jury selection. They asked the jury how many of them had close relatives who had been incarcerated or convicted of a crime that was
Mm,
more than just a traffic ticket or a misdemeanor. And it was about half. And I was really surprised by that. But honestly, it made me feel less alone because I've never been crime adjacent like this before. And so it made me feel like, wow, there really are a lot of people who are dealing with similar family
yeah.
systems and similar family situations. So
Do you-
I really
my,
appreciate that.
my brother is in prison. My brother is JJ's biological father. He
Hmm.
lost his son twice, once through adoption
Yeah.
because of choices he made and his girlfriend made, and then once again permanently via Lori.
Yeah.
And it's it's opposite side of the spectrum. I have my aunt who's in prison for, this, and then my brother who's coming out of prison this in a couple months, a month or two. And it's so weird because it's like we want them to go to prison, right? We just want to just put them away for life. But then there's my brother who didn't murder anybody, but I mean, they're still human, it's made me realize these things. They're still human, and I don't know. It's just
Well,
really weird to have opposite sides there.
that brings up a good question for me, and I I brought this up with have brought this up with several people. So when Maricopa County decided to press these charges,
Mhm.
um, did they consult with family members? Do you want to go forward with these charges to get justice for Charles?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure, so don't quote me, but I remember after Chad's trial last year, okay, Mom and Larry went straight to Arizona and talked with the prosecutor. And I mean, they shared this publicly that Trina was excited. She was, anxious to get on this, and she was ready, and she didn't see any problems with this. And so, I mean, I do know that they had conversations. Whether they talked about that, specifically, I don't know, but I can only imagine probably.
Right.
Yeah.
So what then does justice look like for both of you?
Hmm. Justice for me, I found out it looks different for everybody, every person in here alive. I think justice, I've learned is for me is through understanding. I want to understand the situation. I want to get to the root of the problem. I want, for once, like it has to get down to the bare root so that we can go acknowledge it. We can expose that. We can, and we can just come up from there. If we never get to the bottom of it, then that's why we're here and we're just spinning, spinning, spinning,
Right.
insanity.
Right.
Thank you.
Megan, for you?
It's a good question, and I don't know that I necessarily have a good answer for it because it does look different for everybody. And I thought that what I wanted was the death penalty for Chad, and then when it happened, I just felt so empty inside.
Mhm.
I just don't want there to be any more tragedies like this. So to me, justice would be um, if all of the people who had something to do with this were held accountable, and whether it is in the courtroom or, as Kresha says, financially. I do believe in karma. I really do. I believe that what you put out into the universe comes back to you. And so I don't think that I'm the one who gets to decide what that looks like, but I am going to continue to talk about this. And I know that is my family members' worst nightmare. They want me to shut up. They want me to stop talking about my own experiences. And they want me to stop saying things that make them look bad. But I'm never going to stop talking about it. Not ever. Because I think it is so important for people to know about people like Lori. Because we all know someone like her. I say this all the time. We all know somebody like Lori. Somebody who manipulates. Somebody who lies. Somebody who, you know, will only tell you the part of the truth that they want you to hear because they want you to do a certain thing or act a certain way. We need to have more people who know how to defend against that behavior. We need more Nancy Joes. We need more Kay Woodcocks. We need more people who will stand up to the liars and the manipulators in life. And I am going to end the video tonight with this comment right here, just because it made me laugh. It made me laugh so hard when I saw it come up. You're irrelevant.
You're not irrelevant.
No. Lori Thompson. I am relevant. I'm relevant because I fight against these people, and I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm going to keep talking about it. And Kresha's going to keep doing it and talking about it, and Joe Schmo's going to keep doing it and talking about it. And if the only thing that comes out of this trial and these series of trials, these family tragedies, if you will, as Lori says, if the only good thing that comes out of it is that more people are educated and more people are jumping into the podcast world to educate people about this, then that feels like a victory to me. It definitely does. So I'm just going to say, I'm so grateful to you for being here today, whether you're watching live or whether you're with us on the replay crew. Thank you. Thank you for supporting these channels who are doing this important work. And now I'm going to go and be nonchalant. Y'all have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks for having me on. It was an honor.